Hello, friends. Hello, family. Hello, beautiful people of the internet and the universe. You are listening to Puff Puff Pass. This is a new little series that we're going to be doing where we're interviewing artists and getting to know different people from different backgrounds all over the world, explaining their creative journey to us. Today, I'm joined by Genevieve. Did I say that right?
Genevieve, but
Genevieve?
yeah, you're chill.
Bet. She is one of the most talented artists that I've come across, and I reached out to see if you would want to do this with me, and you were pretty chill about it. So I appreciate that. But yeah, for today's episode, we're gonna just kind of get a flow for our little thing here, and mainly talk about uh, Jen's story and just kind of her upbringing, how she's gotten to where she is today. You know, where should we start? Like, I guess do you want to talk about
Ooh.
like
Yeah,
your
so let's
first
load it.
like how did you know you wanted to be an artist in the beginning?
Oh yeah. So I'd say like art has been in my blood for quite a while. On both sides of my family for generations. I've mostly come from artists. My mom is a full-time artist. My sister's a full-time artist. My grandmother does art that people stop and admire or look at. And on my dad's side, like my dad would sell paintings for like thousands of dollars. It was pretty well known. More like classical oil painter and musician.
Ooh,
So
so it was just
I,
it was just meant to be. It was fate. Like
yeah,
you kind of just had to accept the mantle. That's I see it. I see it.
yeah. It's at first I actually used to hate art, believe it or not.
Really.
I would just get so frustrated because I would always have these like very vivid, detailed, imaginative like places I go in my head and ideas I would have of like the things I want to create.
Mm.
And I was just very like jaded, I guess, because I realized how much time I would have to put into practicing to like get it to the quality that I wanted to.
Kind of
And I
that
just had very,
like perfectionist
oh
mentality,
yeah,
right?
no doubt,
It's
yeah.
kind of like a curse. It's
Totally,
a
yeah.
it's a gift and it's a curse, you know.
Yeah, 100%. But over time, I started creating more out of a playful state where it was just like
Mm.
pure, authentic, like channeling and expression, where it stopped feeling like a chore or a task or something that I kind of had to do and became more enjoyable for sure.
So like what do you think is like your earliest memory of making something that like you were proud of? Um,
Hmm.
for me, I feel like when I was a kid, like I would take a lot of like surroundings or like things that I was watching and kind of like reinterpret a lot of that into just my own imagination. For some for some reason, the
Yeah.
earliest memory that comes up for me is drawing like all the characters from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I,
Yeah, yeah.
I was obsessed with that movie as a kid, and like it just kind of like I think growing older, like seeing how like each kid kind of represents like a different flaw in humanity or in a character. But I don't know. I would draw like things, icons, symbolism. Like
Hmm.
that was big. I think in the formative years. You know.
Yeah, totally. I definitely feel like I also had a phase of just like trying to draw characters from TV shows like in passing, like during a scene or something like that. Yeah, I feel like it would be kind of random what I would choose to do it from, but I feel like my earliest memories are probably like games that I would play where it was kind of like we called it like the doodle game, but it's like you draw like just a random like series of lines or like any sort of like scribble basically, and then you pass it to the next person and they have to turn it into some sort of picture of something. So
Yeah.
I was doing that a lot as a kid where we would just kind of expand upon these certain scribbles or designs that someone would do and turning it into something completely different and just letting your mind kind of like run with it.
Like that kind of shows me that early on, even like when you were younger, collaboration was a big part of wanting to make
Oh
things.
yeah,
I did the same thing. I had a neighbor that we would do something similar where you kind of just pass it back and forth and see what is made out of these scribbles, out of the mess, you know. So that
totally.
that's a big thing too. Like just working with somebody and sharing that creativity, I think is
Hmm.
probably what drew me closer to art because like growing up, like I was telling you earlier, like my siblings were very talented musicians, and you know
Hmm.
just seeing their energy getting put into something, especially
Yeah.
seeing my oldest brother like play the drums. That
Hmm.
I saw that I'm like, there's something there. There's something outside of words there that
Hmm.
is happening. You know.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's interesting finding like overlay too between like different mediums and different forms of art, and like I've worked in the music kind of scene for quite a while doing photography for shows and event coordinating and kind of promoting and stuff like that, but
Mm-hmm.
I I feel like my I have like such a what's it called, admiration I guess for people who play music and like hearing music live and like just feeling it beyond like the surface level of what you're hearing, but just like raw emotion and like channeling into what they're playing. And I was so happy when I could find that in visual art, and I, I love finding any way honestly that I can find that sort of self-expression and just like yeah, something beyond us almost, that is like I feel like art comes from a place of collaborating with something higher, beyond just normal reality, depending on how you're making art. But I feel like it's a co-collaboration between like you and the universe
Mm-hmm.
to make something, that sometimes feels very like beyond just like the limited human 3D reality.
I resonate with that because I was hesitant like growing up to like promote any of my music or even like publish it. Like I didn't. It was more always just a hobby, and
Yeah.
it wasn't until like I had this realization of like being in the moment, being more superior than an end product. So I guess what I'm trying to say is like I had to realize that the emotion that I'm feeling in the moment that I'm channeling into the art, that is
Mhm.
more important than whatever the end product is or however it's perceived by other people or my friends or my family. Like the most sacred part, or at least in my opinion, is the process and getting to that stage where you are comfortable with sharing it. That to me is like the most important part over like any kind of feelings of validation or not feeling like your art is getting validated. Like uh, the process of just making it is more rewarding than um, the end piece, I guess. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, 100%. I completely agree for sure. I think that like that's whenever my relationship with art really like switched over was when I released control over having it look a certain way or having it completely 100% how I want it, and more so allowing myself to just flow and like let it come out in the way that it just wants to, like beyond like anything that like my ego wants it to be, or like, yeah, I think letting go of like the need for validation of of the product is everything for sure.
That's kind of a good place to pivot towards like the AI thing because I think that's part of the reason why I don't really
Mm-hmm.
agree much with like mass produced AI art because I feel like you're taking that process out of it. You're just getting
Mm-hmm.
the end product, and that's this like consumerified version of art that I don't know if I can get behind. you know?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's like it puts art in a difficult position, but I do also feel like it'll be a clear separator between people that are only dabbling in art or admiring art for like its realism or for its like shock factor, or like more so I feel like the viewer really like can meet art where they are at in their journey. And so it's like if someone is buying into the AI art and actually like I don't know, allowing that to be something they connect with, I feel like it'd create a clear division between people that are genuinely on a soul level connecting with the deeper parts of your art in that process and in the emotional channel, opposed to like, yeah, just like surface level what they're looking at.
Yeah, I agree, and that's part of honestly that's part of the reason why I wanted to take on this type of like show and just entertain this because I think a lot of people feel similarly, um,
Mm-hmm.
and I think, like you said, it's gonna be a clear distinction between like people that are really doing art for their soul and people that are more just kind of like trying to sell a product. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to meet those people that are really pouring their soul into what they do. So maybe that's kind of what I'm part of this process is getting to know more people that are like that, and it's yeah, I don't know, I'm just having kind of like a clarity right now. Like this is why we're doing it. It's to meet
Yeah.
other people and connect and share these experiences.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely also another thing I try to take into consideration while creating, whether it be something like this or music or art, like just setting the intention and asking myself the why, because that really makes all the difference, I think.
Yeah, that's facts, and that's with everything in life. I think you got to be intentional.
Yeah.
It's not always like that. Like sometimes things just are in the spur of the moment, but when you take some time and you consider things like it is there's an art to the way we like live. That's why like I see the argument of like AI art not being like art, but like in a sense also like everything is a form of art. Like everything has a process behind it. Everything was created and had a start and had a end and maybe had a rebirth. So uh I, I don't want to be like one of those art snobs that like like says like, oh, this is art and this is not. Like I don't ever want to come off that way, but I do think there is like at least
Mhm.
at least in like the consumerism culture that we live in today, there is a set of people that are just like trying to abuse artists in a way. Like I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, it totally does.
I mean like you see that manifest in like so many things like the music industry, like
Hmm.
just like commercialization of things in general, you know? Like
Definitely. Yeah, I think there's a certain emphasis our culture today puts on like materialism and like physical things and more like tangible things that are in their face. But I've actually been reading a lot in this book. It's called The Secret History of the World by Mark Booth.
mhm,
And it goes into like this idea that like the ancient like thoughts and like um I don't know, basically they were arguing that back in the day they valued things that like our imagination and our consciousness and the things that we can create in our own minds and imagination. It's like that is just as valuable, if not more valuable than things that are physical and tangible and like that you can touch. It's like they were talking about kind of how, like, if you imagine a table in your head and you really go into vivid detail about what it feels like and the
mhm.
kind of wood it's made out of, and like really like vividly imagine it, like it's like making the argument like, is that table that you imagined any less real than a table you can touch? And it's like they were making the argument that no, like it's
Right, right.
the the things that we create and the things we speak into existence, whether it be physical or in our head, I think are just equally important.
Well, that's what a majority of the ancient mystique culture and stories and religions I think we're trying to get across to us.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, in modern age, we've kind of, again, we've kind of like commercialized that and turned it into like a product or a business. But I'll have to read this because it, even just the title, like, strikes curiosity to me.
Yeah.
The Secret History of the World. Because I think there's a lot of people that have discussed this idea too. I don't know if you know, you've probably heard Terrence McKenna, right? He talks
Yeah,
about
for sure.
he talks about like the separation of two different cultures. One that is a partnership culture that tries to work with the earth and have this
Mm-hmm.
partnership uh, society and foundation, and you have like modern cultures now, which are more like dominator cultures, which are, you know, heavily enforced on that. Like, I would almost say he distincts it in like the male and feminine uh, energies, because the dominator culture is like what we have today, where you have, um, you know, militias going into foreign territories and tearing families apart. It's like that to me just screams dominator culture. Like that's what we live in.
Right.
That's what we live in today. We just seeing stuff in the news, like, you know, like ICE pulling families apart, like that to me signals we live in a dominated culture, and just hearing that perspective from Terrence of ancient cultures that probably were a little more in touch with Earth, and that doesn't mean they were perfect, but you know
Right.
there's a lot of things I think we can learn from not just the history, but ancient cultures and the art of the past.
Yeah, 100%. And like how many things too that people created like so long ago that was like so perfectly aligned with like the astronomical like cycles and the way that astrology was aligning in the moment. And like you just see so much in both like organic farming practices and like the way people worked with the land. It's just like everything really connects back to like how in sync they were with the cyclical nature of life and like the way we will have ebbs and flows, and we can kind of in some way have some predictability about it, just based on what we've come to know over time about the planetary impacts and associations. And yeah, it's super interesting to hear the difference of like then versus like I think we still have that in a way today in our very modern take on astrology and
Yeah.
spirituality, but I think it's there's a lot less people that feel a genuine connection to where their things are coming from or where their food is coming from, and really connecting with like the things that they interact with on a daily basis. Like I've been on a very important soul journey for myself to kind of make it a reality to where I feel like I could create and grow and produce everything that I use on a daily basis, and help raise, fresh dairy for certain products, or grow my own. I've been a market manager for different farms and grow my own food, and I'm very big on understanding the connection between me and what I'm consuming and taking it into my own accountability and hands to like ensure that there's not just like extra garbage put in there for no reason, and chemicals used that are making us sick, and really focusing on like what sort of ingredients I'm putting on my body, consuming into my body. Like all of that is very important to me because I don't ever want to feel like I have to rely on um, someone else to provide a store or provide me with like convenience. It's
Mm-hmm.
like I want to go down those longer roads of like, okay, how would I make a shampoo? Or like, how would I
Yeah.
make my own clothes? Or like, like exploring like every aspect of life and being like, okay, how do I do all of these things for myself if I really wanted to have that luxury? Because it's like someday I do feel like there's not going to be the convenience there anymore of
Yo.
just having like massive supermarkets and filled with everything you could think of. And I would like to be more prepared than anything, to know that I can make those things and I can grow those things and work with the land in a way that is self sustainable, and just overall be more self sustaining and help others do the same. Yeah.
That's really important because I think for a majority of human history, it's been that way where you kind of had to go figure out and get it yourself. But
Mm-hmm.
in modern times, we've relied on convenience and just the ease of public, uh, just all these things we take for granted, right? Um,
Right.
And within that, there's this unseen energy behind a lot of the things that we take for granted. So, like the food industry is a perfect one to think about because how much waste is created and how many animals are killed in these big operations where they don't take their time to nurture life. They just see it as a digit and as a product, and that we've relied on these systems so much that we don't think about uh, these things anymore. And I'm guilty of that too. Like I think that I didn't realize a lot of this until like, especially with food, with on the topic of food, like um, I'm from a Hispanic culture, so we eat a lot of meat and stuff. And
Yeah.
not that that's a bad thing, but um, like especially once I visited Mexico and seeing the difference between like meat in America and meat in other countries, you just start to see that like
Mm-hmm.
illusion uh, break down. And what I used to think was healthy is like starting to seem as like a system of, or like a game that people have been trying to figure out, like how do we get the product margins smaller. Like they're only thinking about numbers, they don't have our health in mind. So uh
Yeah, and you have to think about it like the health industry benefits from the fact that we're suffering and benefits from the fact that there is disease and that there is illness.
yo
And the more that they can get people eating food that's going to make them ill, like the more they profit off of it in food revenue and in the health industry also. Like it is becoming just like this really sick like market of like benefiting off of people suffering genuinely.
yeah, yeah. And I had like a very like I don't know if innocence is the right word, but like just like what is it? Ignorance, that's the right word. Like I had an ignorance about this stuff until like I one of the things that really shaped my now perspective was the trip to Mexico, like the couple trips that I've been there, but also psychedelics were big in helping me see this reality. And like I didn't really think about much of the process behind like food and how it's resourced until this one time I was tripping on mushrooms. And like I didn't I don't know why I because usually I'm not hungry when I'm tripping, but I wanted to like cook up a steak, so I cooked it up. And like while I'm sitting there like watching it in the pan, like I'm seeing like just this like factory farming like plant. And like I start to empathize with this thing that was once alive. And after that, it kind of got hard to eat meat for a bit. But it
Yeah.
there's been little ego shattering experiences like that
Mm.
have kind of helped me form like I think a different perspective about what it is we take in and consume, not just food, but spiritually.
Oh yeah. Yeah. This is like a I could go on about this for so long because I was planning to be like kind of a nutritionist slash like herbalist, and health and nutrition is like everything to me. And
Hmm.
yeah, I was vegetarian for like 10 years, but I came back to eating meat after having raised and butchering myself. I worked on quite a few different farms, and yeah, just like raising and watching how the animals are raised and the way that they live their life and the type of food that they get, like all of that comes into play. And whenever I was eating like this meat that I helped to raise myself and like literally saw its life. Like it makes me honor the food in a way that like no, like I don't get that with anything else really. And same thing today. Like I still live on a farm, so I still will have meat that I butcher myself, and like there is a certain level of like heartbreak that you get almost when you have to like do the butchering, but there's also like this gratitude I hold for whatever animal it is in the moment that I'm doing it, and honoring its life in a way that like feels like it's so important to health. Like it's like having that bond with the food that I'm eating like makes me appreciate it all the much more, and feel so fulfilled by the end of eating. Like it feels like I don't have to eat as much because I feel satiated with knowing that, you know, a life went into it. And I think we just like it's something that I was talking about a lot in sociology too, like in college. But I feel like our current system is set up in such a way that like we're so disconnected from from like everything.
Facts.
uh, but I try to uh, like nurture and honor that connection as much as possible. Yeah.
It's really good that you've been able to kind of take that into your own hands, and it's I'm sure it's not easy, you know, because convenience is what uh, the system sells. So I'm sure it's you've had a journey, but I'm sure it's been worth it. And
Oh yeah.
yeah, like I guess let's kind of like I feel like we got a little derailed. Let's kind of get back into your your no, I love it though. I love it. But let's get into like your creative journey and I know you recently had a little event. You did a little gallery thing.
Yeah.
So kind of maybe
Mhm.
give us a little insight on that. Kind of tell us about how that went.
Yeah, totally. I had my first gallery show. It was pretty exciting. They actually reached out to me, which I was kind of surprised about. But I guess they had seen my Instagram just through like reels I was posting or something like that. But yeah, they ended up DMing me and asking if I wanted to come out for the show. And I live like a kind of far from the city. Like I'm staying more towards like upstate New York. So I did ride the bus with all of my art, which was really scary to
Oh,
do.
that sounds scary.
Yeah, I was like stressing the whole time, but
Wasn't it
it
like
ended up working out.
10 paintings, 10 canvases? Um,
Yeah, I did like I had two no, I had like three new originals that I have just finished recently,
mhm.
and I had like nine other framed prints of some of my older work that I don't physically have with me. But yeah, I got some prints done and framed. And then I did some like live face painting and body painting. So
Yeah, I
I've
saw
been
that on your story.
yeah, I've been kind of playing around with doing face painting and kind of body painting recently at like art markets and live shows and just kind of like wherever will take me.
Right, right.
Yeah, I've done some like local stuff in near where I'm at in upstate, just doing like little kids at like these fall festivals or
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
um birthday parties and stuff like that.
What if you could give advice to like people out there that are like starting their I guess maybe like starting to publish their art online and they kind of want to get seen like I know social media can kind of be like a rat race at sometimes, but at least when I try to look at it, I just try to put what feels authentic out there. Maybe what kind of advice do you have to those people that are looking to start putting their art out there?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like the most important thing I could recommend is just like knowing that like it's like your value and your like worthiness and the way you honor your art should I don't think should be determined by how much attention it gets online. And I do understand it's much easier said than done with that because I definitely struggle with like having certain expectations of like, oh, I really wish this reached more people or more people could see some of this. So I do get that side of it. And I think if that's what you're going for, and um, I think that like following algorithm trends and just paying attention to like popular audios and things like that will always like kind of support your push up the algorithm. But yeah, I think the most important thing is just feeling like your value doesn't isn't determinate of that. But
Facts.
I think yeah, I think if you're wanting growth, I think just paying attention to like where other artists are doing well. I think it's nice to do collaborations and kind of like do shared posts where it can kind of reach a bigger audience. Something that was really helpful for me in growing in my kind of community and yeah, promoting my art, I guess, is doing also just like little live events wherever you can and publishing those photos and like worst case scenario the market doesn't go well, but I think just like giving a context of your work like out in the world and like in a setting where it's like set up nice and has good lighting, I think can really go far. Just like people seeing your work like on display can like kind of show them what it's going to be like having it in their home potentially or like around them. So yeah, I'd say like collaborating with the venues to get your stuff promoted and just yeah, following trends, paying attention to what's popular. Yeah.
I think you're right about doing events and pop ups and stuff like that. Like, there's a certain level of reach you can get online, but I think when you start to incorporate your own city, town, like community,
Yeah,
I think that's also very healthy. You know, because you never know who lives in your community, and you never know who also might resonate with what you're creating without you
definitely. Yeah.
even knowing. You know, so just getting yourself out there and in terms of like the online stuff, like treat that like your portfolio. You know, let
Hmm.
when someone clicks on your Insta or your website or whatever it may be, make that an experience that people are stepping into. That's something that's really cool about your page. Like, you just step into your world, and that's like that instantly like
Yeah.
uh, showed me like different facets of like who you might be and your creativity. So that's important. Just treat it like a portfolio, but also don't like people want to know your personality. People want to know who you are. I think that's one of my
Yeah.
kind of weak points. I think is like I shy away from attention. I shy away from like putting my face out there too heavily. So that's another reason why I wanted to do this little show because I want more people to know who Crease is and what's the energy behind all of this. So just get yourself out there, you know.
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, I think once people see like the vulnerable personality and everything that's wanting to hide so badly, when once that comes out, it's like it gives them a certain level of like moment to bond and moment to like feel close to like the actual creator of the art that they admire and like put a face behind everything. So I definitely agree. I definitely think like it also keeps people consistently wanting to check on your work because it's like if you are kind of exuding like a personality that they like, it's like kind of draws them into like wanting to know more about your world and what you create.
100%. And kind of want to say on this topic too, like, I think a lot of artists can be, I think a lot of artists can be shy about their creations, and I think it goes back to like this perfectionist mindset where sometimes we're a little too hard on ourselves, and I think that's not a weakness. I think that's if anything, that's like something that people want to see, like, because it's raw, it's real, and um, yeah, I would say like growing up, I was pretty shy, and I've had to learn how to get out of my own shell, and a lot of that has to do with creativity and in those moments as a kid when like you maybe you don't feel seen, or like you just have this vision in your mind that you can't explain. Like art is that thing that you can go into, and it's never gonna judge you. It's always gonna be there to just help you express yourself. So you're only limited by your mind and your your beliefs. If you doubt yourself, it's not gonna happen. And I think I'm culprit of that, like anyone else. But I guess this is me calling myself out, trying to take
Was it? Yeah.
trying to take some accountability. But no, can what else can we talk about? I guess if you want to stay on that topic, do you have anything else to add to that?
um. Yeah. I mean, I definitely, I definitely just totally agree with all of that. Something, yeah, something I guess I can go into with that is like, I kind of realized, I guess, like throughout the course of my art journey is like creating from a space of like authentic joy was like very important for me and something that I was realizing like just going through different living scenarios. I've like yeah, I guess for those that don't know, I have been like traveling for the past like 5 years full time. So I've been through a lot of like positive experiences and negative experiences and like everything in between. But something that was like a consistent indicator for my intuition when it came to if I was in the right place or if I was on the right path. And because I came to a lot of those points where I kind of had to make a decision. Something that I would always look to is like if I was able to create art in the spaces that I was in. Because for a long time, like this past couple years, I feel like there's a lot of challenging situations I would find myself in where I literally lost like all capacity and ability to create art while I was there. And it was just because like so much of my energy was being drained into, the situation at hand or dealing with the circumstance that like I would find myself like with no matter how much desire I had to create, there was like nothing I could do to kind of overcome that like blockage where it was just like not until I'm in a safe environment can I really create in the way that like I do because I stopped so much making art for a long time like doing more realism and observation type stuff but I switched over to really allowing myself to go into like um I guess like something else I should mention for context is like my art is very heavily representative and involved with having two different sides of my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, it might be something that some people don't notice right away, but I tend to have like hyperrealism aspects to my pieces and also a more like abstract realm that I can enter where it's like not so upfront with what it is, not so like direct with a exact meaning or identification, but basically that abstract world that is incorporated into the realism is like representative of this disassociative state I would find myself going to all throughout growing up because I did have a very traumatic childhood. It was not easy at all. There was a lot of times where if I could not visit that happy place that I invented in my head and that like otherworldly like comfort zone almost I wouldn't be here today. And I incorporate a lot of the disassociative, like daydream and imagination, running wild kind of aspects to my work because it represents that side of me that was disassociated for so long and like, but it's still very much a part of me and my development. Um, and essentially, through just realizing that and knowing that when I make art, I am coming from a internal like channel and a very vulnerable place. I can no longer kind of create when I feel like that could be um, exposed to the wrong people or misinterpreted or misunderstood. And I feel like that will always happen. Like there's always going to be misunderstanding and misinterpretation, but also I just think that if I'm not in the right headspace where going to that place is safe for me, um, I tend to shut down and I'll stop creating for a while.
I feel I resonate with that heavy because it's this emotion that I've tried to put into words and music and like you just talked about it so beautifully, but it's this
Thank you.
this for me it's always been this feeling of like feeling that I need to escape and I need to go somewhere and like I need to get out like this. Sometimes it'll almost manifest in like a feeling of impending doom, um, and there's a lot of stuff I could probably point it back to and growing up, and not to say that I had like a terrible childhood, but I think we all experience things that kind of pull us out of our own being and kind of force us to explore with the idea of seeing our bodies outside of ourselves, and dissociation is something that kind of like in my teenage years, I kind of felt like I didn't want to identify with like that word. Maybe just because like I thought like oh oh does it mean I gotta go get a therapist type of shit? Because I've never seeked out that kind of professional help. But no, the more that I've realized, and the more that I've gotten older, there is this there's this feeling that always seems to kind of be latching onto my back of needing to like go somewhere or like do something,
Hmm.
and that's kind of what I was trying to explain in my album escapism, like this feeling of needing to be somewhere. And I think it could go back to like um like just like religious upbringing and that type of stuff that I've kind of tried to sort with in my mind. But
Right.
art
Yeah.
feels like that way, that place that I can go to hear how other people deal with these feelings of dissociation and maybe that like imposter syndrome, that like feeling of not belonging somewhere. Like
Mm-hmm.
art gives me that clear
Yeah.
place where I can be intentional about these emotions, and it gives me a belonging. I guess it's kind of like the story of Sisyphus rolling up the hill. Like
Mm-hmm.
he's aware, he's aware of this kind of circle that he keeps finding himself in, but instead of being like disappointed or sad about it, he's kind of just like okay with it. And like there's a certain like comedic perspective about that, and that's kind of how I try to treat any anything that happens like in life that feels like an obstacle, or I just try to treat it as like almost like comedy in a way, just like you like how can I use my art to make a story about this, or bring this to light, or help me process this, whatever it could be. It could be an environment, it could be a relationship, but environment for sure is definitely important for creating. And I've had those moments where I feel like I don't feel safe in this environment to be creating, so I'm just gonna limit myself and kind of hold back. And that's maybe that's one of my biggest fears, is like I don't want to get trapped feeling that way. I want to be able to just always be authentic and express myself confidently. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but there's so many societal pressures and just things all around us that can try to suppress that feeling of
Yeah.
wanting to be free, I guess.
Yeah. I've like I've made pretty much my whole living off of just trying to help people find their freedom. Like it is like the biggest heart mission that I feel like I have on this planet, is like helping people actually live the life that resonates with them to the highest extent. And I think that's why I heavily rely on observing when I can't do art and when I am creating the most, and just like flowing with it. It tells me, like, it gauges me in the right direction, where it's like, okay, I'm in a really good flow with my creating. I feel like it is just coming super naturally, like I'm on the right path. But if I notice that things are getting difficult and things feel more resistant and things are taking longer or there's delays with things, it's just like I really look at what's going on in my life and decide to shift and decide to um, transform that reality, because I do really feel on every aspect that we as humans and beings, like, we have the full capacity to create our reality. And like, I will say there is an innate reality and truth, and like an absolute, um and we have our perceptions, that I can kind of describe it like reality is an x-axis on a graph, and on the y-axis, like, our perception can ebb and flow and be above reality or below reality. And I think that's where those states exist, where it's like kind of like the daydreaming and the fantasy and like pretending everything is dandy and great in your mind. I think that's a totally natural perception to someone, so it feels like reality, but like the innate reality and the truth as a baseline will always like confront you and meet you. So it's like your perception can be way beyond what reality is, and you could be like, I'm the healthiest person ever and I'm perfect and like everything rocks and like nothing can get to me. But if you're like not taking care of your health and you're doing bad daily habits and you're just like overall ignoring the things that actually matter to you, you're going to be confronted with that reality at some point. And it's like vice versa. If you have a perception that is less than reality, like you're like, everything sucks, I suck, and like nothing is has a meaning or purpose, you will be confronted with the reality that like we are all innately worthy and like yeah, like we're all like supposed to be here and we all have a worthiness and value that we bring to this planet. So it's like those perceptions, if you get caught up in them too far away from reality, it's like you're going to be confronted at some point and it can be painful and it can feel like your world is crumbling. It can look like outgrowing people that you once felt very close to, or leaving a situation that for so long you wanted to be your like end all be all, but it wasn't. And so it's like there's moments in our life where we're confronted and we're forced to make decisions. And I think the more you can find those clues, that's like, yeah, intuitively, I feel like this is the right direction. It's like once you get in tune with that aspect of yourself, really you become unstoppable to like pretty much anything because you're given a certain input of like environmental stuff going on, and you can decide like, does this make me feel good? No, I'm gonna move away from it. Does this make me feel good? Yes. Okay, I'm gonna do more of that. And like the more you live just truly to like what you desire and what you gain from, like the more you're gonna get out of life and the more that things will just effortlessly like be attracted to you and flow in a way that like is so unique to you as an individual. So I really resonate with helping people find that for themselves, like being able to find that intuitive voice and like reason and like limit straying from reality and accepting reality on reality's terms. Like you gain a certain confidence that is like very unshakable. Um, and that I struggled with for a very long time, but
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'm finally starting to embody that for sure.
I love it. You kind of stole the finding reality on reality's terms phrase from me. That's what I was gonna say. But
Oh, yeah.
no, I'm glad you bring this up because as a kid, you know, being in a religious like institutionalized, I guess, like you hear this concept of like heaven and hell, and I think a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people are they get caught up in the uh like the physical form of that, like almost like a cartoonified version of heaven and hell. Like they think
Right.
it's some kind of like externalized thing or place that you go to when you pass. And I think, at least in my perception, it's more about the life that you're creating here on Earth, and uh, like two people could be looking at the same object. One person could be looking at it with malice or kind of like hate in their heart, while the other is looking at it from a I don't even know what the opposite it would be, like more like a forgiving, kind perspective. Like that's kind of the story you get with Cain and Abel. You have one brother that is kind of cold towards the world, and that's how his reality manifests. And you have the other one that's more of an optimist and kind of pushes through reality despite the negativity. You have those two, like, consciousness in our mind kind of battling out uh, whether or not we're gonna have a good day or a bad day. And one way I like to look at it, one example is like at a restaurant. You have a rundown restaurant that's like not being properly ran. Like you get the same exact plate at another restaurant that's taken care of and has intent. You're gonna get two different plates, right? You're gonna get one that's maybe looks a little more like hell, and you're gonna have the other plate that looks a little more like heaven. So I think we
Yeah.
I think we externalize these concepts too much sometimes when it's like right in front of our face. Like how are you gonna create heaven for people around you, and how are you gonna create hell for people around you? And I have had those people in my life where it feels like all they want to do is create problems for themselves or the people around them, and I don't like the those type of situations remind me of the person that I want to be, and um, it's more healthy and it's a lot easier to change yourself than try to change people around you, especially if they've kind of locked into what they believe. Like uh, you can spend a lot of time trying to change somebody's mind, but it takes the individual to decide that they want to see things differently in order for that change to happen. So I think even though I don't agree with everyone's perspective, I think to some extent everyone's perspective is valid, and
Hmm.
that's how I look at my art too. Like I have a certain perspective, and I'm a little more protective and sacred about it because I made it. But someone else might look at it and be like, "Oh, well, that sounds like shit," and like I have to be perfectly fine with that. Like that has to just kind of rub off my back, and because it to some extent, like every every perspective isn't like always aligned with reality, but people are
Hmm.
gonna have their perspectives and they're gonna believe what they want to believe. So um, you can only control your own little story that you're telling through art, through the way you live, through your work, through the relationships you have. Like it's just these things manifest in many ways, not just uh, tangible items.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I just to like add, I guess, a final thought with that is like I like to think of everything kind of as like a frequency that we can tune into. It's like there's a complete range of different kind of perceptions and different realities that people are creating, and it's like you can really tune into whatever it is that you want to, but yeah, I think finding whichever frequency is resonating with you and like what's going to help you to grow the most or what will help open the next door or unlock the next chapter, like I think it's just important to keep trying different things. And if someone gets stuck on a certain frequency that they're not resonating with and aren't aligned with them anymore and holding them back, like it's important to be okay with change and shift with whatever frequency it is that you need to tune into at the time. But yeah, there's moments for everything. There's moments to be angry, there's moments to be, like it's like happiness doesn't have to be the goal, and happiness doesn't have to be like, I feel like it's kind of in a way overrated. It's like when everything's happy and good and everything's just content, like there's a certain level of peace to that. But I think life is so much more multifaceted than that. Like there's so many more emotions to experience, and like yeah, it's like it's none of it is necessarily good or bad innately. It's like
Right.
all of that moral kind of ambiguity is up to us to decide. But everything just exists and is here for some sort of purpose. So it's like just about finding that purpose for you. And I think that's like what life is all about, pretty much.
Yeah, defining the unknown, defining the future. Uh, Everyone's gonna go about it a different way,
Yeah.
and there is things that are gonna sway us. That's why I try not to get like too deep into like politics and stuff, because that to me feels like a distraction from finding true authenticity, and I think ideology sometimes can be itself toxic, because I think Terrence McKenna says something about this, but he talks about how if you've made up your ideologies and you have them set, like how are you gonna discover new ways of thinking? So it's I like what you said about happiness too. Like I think especially like the American dream has sold us that, like, oh, you're supposed to be happy all the time, and it's about this emotion of constant like dopamine. But I don't think that that's like that has to be a constant. These emotions and these uh, receptors come in waves. So like it's what's the what's the cause of that happiness? Like happiness is just the byproduct of something that's making you happy. So what to me it's like what's more important, the emotion or like what's causing that emotion, I guess. And like people might hear this and they'll be like, "Oh, these motherfuckers is talking about like frequencies and shit. This is like woo woo stuff." But like, bro,
Oh my.
like, bro,
Yeah.
like, look at music. Like, music is just a bunch of frequencies that has the ability to put people almost in a trance, and there is
Hmm.
a spiritual aspect to that you can just brush off and you can say, oh, that's just music. But everything is tuned differently. Everything has a frequency, and I don't want to get too like off the railroads, but I do when I think about this stuff deeply, it does feel like the human, I guess, experience is not just the only one, and that there is probably higher levels of conscious that you can partake in or you can be, and like maybe those higher levels are what kind of take over our what we call emotions and state of beings. Like I feel like my body is like an antenna or just like a little like container for uh, a bigger machine that sometimes feels like I'm not in control of, but um,
Absolutely, yeah.
when I do have those feelings of uncertainty, uh, that's when I'm most curious about spirituality and trying to find the truth in myself. So, um, I think there's a lot more mysteries than we give credit to, and that probably we just can't see. And I think that's part of the process of art, like defining those little moments that we might call coincidences, or there's just a lot of things with timing. And I don't know if you know about like gematria and just a lot of different
I do, yeah,
concepts.
but
Like
mm-hmm.
there does seem to be like an invisible string that kind of pulls everything together, and that's what so many religions and spiritualities have uh, tried to understand. And when I look at it, I think a lot of people look at these books um, as pieces of history, but I find myself going back to the creation side of things, and I feel like these illustrators and authors were trying to they were artists, and they were trying to describe the unseen world that they were experiencing, and that's starting to become less and less favored in this digital era that we live in. So um, I don't know how to get off of this train, but like, yeah, go touch grass, go connect with something that makes you feel in tune with whatever you believe in. So,
Yeah, it's almost scary too, because like I feel like they're almost trying to replicate like that
bro,
creative space and realm and into the technologic.
don't get me on this, bro, because we could be on this topic for too long. No, no, you're right, because there is some kind of like I think AI wants to be our god. Like AI wants to like masquerade as our god and pretend to be the source that created us. But I don't think that's true, and I think there's a reason for uh, that being the case. Like there's a lot of incentive for these big companies and these big tech organizations to have all this data and know so many things
Hmm.
about us. So it's like, are they deciding that they're in charge of it, and that they're the creators of the universe? Like it's a very selfish game, and it's been
Yeah,
propped up by you know uh, places like Silicon Valley, the boom, the the money. Like it's like, yeah, it feels too organized to just be like a coincidence.
yeah. Hmm.
Especially these algorithms, like for example, like I found you based off of algorithm. Like what's to say like there's not a bigger like force behind that? I don't know. It's like
Yeah,
somebody wants to play God, and they're kind of trying to get all this data to be able to play that, be like have like an ant farm, like, oh, I want to shake things up this way, like,
right. Like
yeah.
just a little push in this direction, like start recommended videos like
Yeah.
relevant to, yeah, whatever.
it's an interesting time, but I'm glad that I'm alive for it, and I'm glad that I'm able to use art to document what I feel about what's happening on Earth, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I hope we can use this little avenue, this uh, little nook in the creative space to get to know more people and maybe just keep talking about these concepts in deeper ways and just discover and explore. But I feel like we could be doing this for hours. This we're already up to an hour 16, so maybe
Oh yeah.
we'll leave some for the next episode, and we'll try to get some more people in here, rotate, and yeah. Do you have any kind of closing thoughts? Any final uh, things you're thinking about? What's good?
Yeah, I mean, I just appreciate the opportunity to yeah, share. I've been wanting to do more like in-depth discussions with people for quite a long time. And yeah, I'm just really glad to have an opportunity to be involved with the community and like yeah, just get to unfold over time and let things go how they're gonna go. But yeah, just grateful always to be alive and here to always remind people that life is a miracle and there's so much to be grateful for, regardless of all of the suffering and hard realities right now. I think it's just important to remember how valuable our life is.
100%. And thank you for taking time out of your day to do this. And anyone else who is listening that wants to be a part of this little journey, we can get some more co-hosts in here. We can do a lot more deep dives and kind of be a little more organized about it. We're just kind of spitballing and free flowing with this, but it's gonna turn into what it's gonna turn into, and we'll be here. And yeah, thank you guys for your time. Uh, I don't really have an outro. I had a pretty good intro, but I'll come up with something clever. But for now, that is episode 1 of Puff Puff Pass. Y'all have a good night, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in time. Uh, have a good one.